she looks metallic. Metallic, metallic, metallic.
So I can't quite recall overnight sensation.
Welcome to the shop, and in this episode we're going to heavily advertise the new season of Drag Tots. And when I say heavily, what I mean is massively. And I don't want to say I told you so, but I told you so. Then we have Ginger and Trinity's edit going completely downhill, Raja's edit rising up, then we have Untucked, and a terrible lip-sync song and the consequences of it, including the Queen's reaction on social media, and at the end, the official start of the game within a game. Now, before we begin, of course, thanks to all of you who leave a comment, upvote, and share our videos. Your help is greatly appreciated in ensuring that sooner or later, our binary overlord at YouTube will finally take notice and start suggesting our content to more viewers. So thank you so much for your support. Also, next week there won't be a live stream because we'll be traveling back to our country, so we'll cover episode 10 and 11 together on Sunday the 29th. Now that we have that out of the way, let's begin. So, we are back in the workroom, and Raja is joking that Ginger might flip out and pull a Trinity if they forgot to congratulate her. At this point, we have a throwback to Trinity being emotional about her win and nobody congratulating her. Now, this doesn't happen by chance, because Trinity being a sensitive and emotional wreck, it's going to be headed for the entire episode. This is just the appetizer.
First, we need to congratulate Ginger.
Right.
Congrats,
Don't make it seem like such a chore, girl.
No, I'm serious.
We just don't want you to pull a Trinity and flip out.
When y'all came in here, it was about y'all. Let me get mine. Just 2 minutes. I don't know what it feels like to win. We don't need a repeat, bitch.
Yeah, congratulate her first.
At this point, it's a new day in the workroom, and we are greeted by wavy hair Eureka, who is here to tell us that it's top 5 and she's here to thrive. Yes, Eureka, if you only knew. No, wait a moment, she did know, because this comes from the future again, so I'm sorry you had to do this, I'm sorry you had to record this. It must have felt like shit. After this welcome to the new episode, we have a cryptic message from Rue coming to us as Corny the Unicorn, her character from Drag Tots, that, you know, that very successful cartoon that was released, I think, back in 2018. So when I see this, already I have a terrible feeling about this. Why do I have a terrible feeling about this? Well, Drag Tots was a cartoon aimed at kids. Do you remember that? And also, do you remember the Frozen Eleganza episode in season 12, inspired by the Broadway musical? Which Broadway musical, you ask? Well, of course, the Broadway musical of Frozen. And do you remember that god-awful mini-challenge back in season 13? Or do you remember Miss Piggy? Because I remember most of the comments that I got when I said time and time again that World of Wonder is hungry for appealing to the kids' market. And if Disney proved anything, it's that the kids' market is a very, very lucrative one. And I got all of these comments saying, no, Matt, it's just a show. You read too much into it. You're biased. You're ignorant. Miss Piggy is just a queer icon. So let's ignore the fact that they chose that specific queer icon among dozen others. You're hateful. You don't understand. Well, look at all of that. And in addition, last season, during season 13, I asked some of our viewers to track down the commercial from RuPaul's Drag Race while it was airing on VH1, in order to try to understand if VH1 was pushing for gearing the show toward kids, because if it airs on VH1 and VH1 are the ones selling commercial spaces during the show, then if we see that the advertisement is geared toward kids, then we can confidently say, well, VH1 is pushing for it. And if not, then World of Wonder must be pushing for it. Guess what came out? 90% of those commercials were clearly geared toward young adults. So, in a way, I was not surprised in the slightest. And this all whole episode is nothing more than a hour-long commercial for a drag cartoon made for kids, of all ages, as RuPaul said. And the shilling is so pervasive to say the least, of course, that we're going to see in detail how pervasive it really is, and I hope that by the end of this, some of you will finally start to see my point here. At this point, RuPaul is back to announce the mini challenge. The queens are going to be playing a game of All-Stars class superlatives. And finally, we have a mini challenge. Why is this so important? Well, because mini challenges are a species on the brink of extinction on RuPaul's Drag Race. This is like the second mini challenge in the whole season, if I'm not mistaken. And please understand one thing, that this mini challenge, for me, it had great potential because it's stupid, it's fun, it's a much better way for queens to actually share their opinions without having to ask them directly, who do you think should go home and why? Unfortunately, I couldn't have fun with it because in the back of my head, I kept thinking, look how hungry production is for conquering that kids' market. Look, they even spent money for set pieces like desks, pen holders, and whatnot. And look, the queens are pretending to be in a classroom, acting like kids. Oh look, cute paper planes. Which I'm sure it was not suggested by a field producer, of course. Oh, and listen, can you hear that? That's kindergarten music in the background.
It's unanimous. Everybody gets a point there. So, Kylie, have you ever had a sugar daddy?
I've had a sugar daddy. I've been a sugar daddy.
Uh-huh.
I've also been a sugar mama.
Okay.
She's a boyfriend-stealing, beautiful sugar.
Oh hey, RuPaul is calling the queens students.
All-Stars class is in session. Which one of your All-Star classmates is the most likely to steal your boyfriend?
Hey, the classroom bell is ringing.
That sound means time is up.
So, taken on itself, this mini challenge could have been just another moment like many others, but the evidence mounted to such a degree that it's pretty clear what the intention really was here. And if that wasn't enough, as a confirmation, Ru even says that the prize for winning is $1,000, sponsored by the Department of Education, whatever it was.
Congratulations, you've each won a cash prize of $1,000, courtesy of the United States Department of Education.
Now, I'm not an English native speaker, so I understood the U.S. Department of Education. So I went to the credits to see if they credited the U.S. Department of Education, and to my surprise, I realized that they were not sponsoring this mini challenge. And then I realized, oh wait, she said Education or whatever it is. So who is sponsoring this mini challenge? Because this is the question that nobody is asking. They always pick sponsors to pay for those things. So who is sponsoring this? Would you care to take a guess? Because production itself is sponsoring this. How curious, isn't it? So clearly they must be getting something out of all of this. I wonder what and I wonder why, but I'm sure that by this point you all have the answer to that question. At this point the mini challenge is over and Ru announces the Maxi challenge. The queens will have to transform themselves into magical live action characters that pay a visit to the very animated world of drag Tots. So this is definitely a 1 hour long commercial for drag Tots. Now, why would there be a commercial for that? I thought it was received so poorly that it got cancelled. But oh no, wait, season 2 is coming soon. How soon, you ask? Well, the day after this episode actually aired, 2 days ago, Friday the 13th. How nice is that? Are you all jumping to watch this? Are you all showing it to your kids? You know, nephews or whatever it is, little brothers, little sisters? I'm sure they'll have a blast. I can't wait to be bored. Oh, good God. Of course, after the priming effect of that classroom mini challenge, we also need to have a mini advertisement during the announcement of what will be the Maxi advertisement for this episode. So we have Ru describing the original characters, who plays them, plus some much needed cutaways from the cartoon itself. It's like they really don't give a shit, do they? They plug and shill everything, and it's all completely shameless. They just don't care. They just don't care anymore.
Drag Tots is a cartoon for kids of all ages.
Because reading is what?
Fundamental. Now streaming on Wow Presents Plus.
So you have to understand a couple of things. At this point, You might be asking, what is the problem in trying to appeal to kids? And to me, the answer is very simple. There is no problem in shifting your target audience. You can do that. There's nothing wrong with it. There's always been a media and a market and toys for kids. There is no problem with that. But drag culture is a culture that is drenched in sexual liberation. It's part of our queer culture in general. For many generations, people have grown up being told to be ashamed of who they are, who they love. What they are is wrong, they are sick, and whatever. Sexual freedom and sexual liberation is a huge part of our queer culture and of drag culture. So puns, innuendos, jokes, they are at the very core of drag. If you try to make drag appeal to kids, then you better sanitize the hell out of it. Because that's not a message that's appropriate for that age. Those are adult themes that are addressed by adults for an adult audience. Point blank. But you see, there is a problem here. If you sanitize Drag Race a little bit too much, then your core audience will start giving you the middle finger and push back. Lose your target audience before solidifying a new audience, and you're out of business. So World of Wonder has been walking a very dangerous line in the past years. And if you don't know what I mean, well, look back at that mini challenge from season 13. There it is, look at that. And don't come to me telling me that that's not a dangerous line to walk in. So, personally, I don't think that drag, even a sanitized version of drag, is suitable for young children. There are many ways to educate the next generation to be open-minded and accepting, but I don't believe this is it at all. And on top of that, it brings the show in a sanitized direction that I am not comfortable with. Drag is provocative, drag is outrageous, drag is politically incorrect, drag is adult entertainment, and we need drag with a capital D now more than ever. Now, moving on, where are we? After announcing the mini challenge, Trinity's storyline for this episode continues to be carried on. So Trinity feels down because she was voted as the moody one, she was voted as the one who would probably go home this episode, and she's complaining about queens sharing the opinions that they were asked for. So you have Eureka trying to motivate her and cheer her up with a mismatched confessional featuring the "There's Something About Mary" version of Eureka. That version of Eureka that comes back from episode 6, I believe.
It's just so far in the game to start, like, doubting myself. No, me too. I hear you.
Trinity, for me, has been my boo thing. So, of course, I'm worried about her. But if you get hurt by a dry race board, mama, you need to look in the mirror and figure something out.
You know that you have a good friend when he's willing to travel through space and time to give you an uplifting word. At this point, you know, you have Eureka sharing her experience with dealing with sometimes ruthless feedback or, you know, insults. And in a way, she's pretty inspired. So I'm very, very impressed by Eureka. She looks like a totally different person in and out of the race. Moving on, we have RuPaul that is back to stir the pot. Or doing a walkthrough, however you decide to call this thing. So to Ginger, she tells her to subvert expectation. And you know, I hate the phrase subverting expectations, because to me is a synonym of killing a franchise. That is something that we heard time and time again in so many other franchises, and it went catastrophically. So the moment I hear that, I'm like, no. Especially after what happened to Star Trek, courtesy of the Viacom CBS Corporation. Let's not forget that. Then she moves on to Trinity, and she conveniently asks if she took offense to anything said in the classroom. What a coincidence. Trinity says that her character has a message, but Ru tells her in turn to be fun and not take it too seriously. You know, she's like, Trinity saying one thing, and RuPaul is like, oh, no, do it like this, it's better. And then she continues, do it like Bugs Bunny, you know? His message was, aha. And I'm like, no, I thought Bugs Bunny's message was, carrots belong in your mouth. But, you know, that's just my opinion. Then she moves on to Eureka. And RuPaul reminds her that she got a lot of votes in the mini challenge. What a coincidence again. Eureka is gassy, Eureka is bossy, Eureka is messy, Eureka is whatever. But you see, Eureka reacts very positively and explains that she's going to turn it all around and make a villain character for the challenge. So RuPaul reacts to that by reminding her that, hey, Eureka, you didn't want anything yet. And Eureka reacts positively again and explains that she will try to win with her villain character. So at this point, Ru is cornered and she tells her that the character has to be likable. It has to be a likable villain, Eureka. So, Eureka, run, because Mama Ru is trying to break you down, and you should prepare for the worst. And by the end of this, Eureka is going to go home. It's just a coincidence, don't think about it too much. Then she moves on to Kylie. She gives no feedback at all to Kylie, but she is allowed to explain her characters in details. Ru is leaving, and we have a throwback from her successful Snatch game. Whatever, okay, I'm going to take it. I like Kylie, but you know, we are here to try to make an unbiased review, so this is pretty strange. And then we have Raja. Conveniently, RuPaul asks her about her signature color so that Raja can open up a little bit. Her character is called Queen Simi, which you're correct, it sounds like semen. I was leaving. That's Raja, that's the way you subvert expectations. Of course, Ru confirms that it sounds like semen, and she goes into panic-induced stroking, talking about Mexican Tessin, whatever it is, because apparently she just remembered, oh wait, this is about a show made for kids that has to appeal to kids. We cannot have puns like this. So she tells her to change the name. Remember when I told you about how pervasive the shilling was going to be? Well, this is just another example. After RuPaul's motivational advice, we find out that Raja has some difficulties rethinking her character. We have Eureka rolling on the floor, Kylie is panicking, and Ginger is commenting through all of that. And by the end of this episode, 2 of these queens will get a redemption, 1 will be thrown under the bus, and another one will go home. Moving on, it's a new day in the workroom, and we have a nice mirror moment with Trinity. Trinity feels the pressure of the competition because of that mini challenge and of the walkthrough. And at some point she makes this impression of RuPaul, in which RuPaul, and she does it in voice as well. And she goes like, "You did bad last week. How are you going to fix it?" And I swear, to me, it looked like she was mocking RuPaul.
And he's just standing over me like, well, yeah, you know, you did bad last week, and, you know, how are you gonna fix it?
The problem is that Ginger and Raja next to her don't look amused in the slightest. They're like, what the hell are you saying? You cannot be saying these things. No matter how you try to spin the narrative on it, because she is spinning the narrative on it, but, you know, you cannot say these things to RuPaul, because it will not end well. And after this, Raja conveniently asks if anyone remembers anything from being a toddler.
Do y'all remember anything from being a toddler?
Which is just a coincidence, I'm sure. Just like it was a coincidence that the girls talked about spirits during the advertisement episode from American Horror Story. Do you remember that? And if you're thinking that field producers are sitting 3 meters away from the queens telling them what to say, then you're clearly insane. Everything you see is 100% real. Didn't you know that? Well, at least we have a nice moment with all of the queens talking about porn stashes and cross-dressing, which thankfully reminds us that this is still a show for adults with adult steam and adult humor. So thanks to all of the queens for flipping it around and showing this giant middle finger to the producers.
My mama used to get so mad at me, bitch, because she'd come home and she'd find me in her negligees.
Ah, come on, nigga.
Yes, bitch, and I'd stretch those little bitches out so much it ruined the lace. I didn't even know.
Girl, I ran across my grandfather's porn. Girl, and I used to like sneak videos, and the struggle was trying to like rewind the tape back to the spot.
I don't know how this made it to the final cut, but I guess, I don't know, plausible deniability could be the answer in this case? I don't know. Now, it's time to get to the Maxi challenge, which I'm not really going to review. This challenge is creative all over. It's something that I really appreciate from Drag Race. I like creative challenges. The queens have to write, the queens have to act, the queens have to sue. But the problem is that I couldn't really enjoy anything from it, because this attitude from World of Wonder really puts me in a wrong place. And I don't want to review this challenge. I don't want to review neither the critiques. And I'm sorry that I cannot be professional like that, but this whole thing is just a little bit too much for my taste. If they want to continue to disguise advertisement as a show, then I'm not going to review it. Especially if the final goal is something that is a reprehensible one for me. So I'm going to keep the review based on the edits and the queens only. And everything else, I'm not going to talk about it. And frankly, I hope that many other people who do reviews of this show will show the same attitude. Because if we let this thing continue to go on as if nothing happens, they will just continue to do them. Come on, this is not entertainment. This show can reach such heights and then we just get this lows. It's incredible to me. And it's annoying. I am not watching 1 hour of advertisement for something where you have to make money. You're already making money off of the show. Make a show. It's as simple as that. It's not that difficult. Make a show. If you want to make advertisement the way everybody else does it. You don't need to transform one of the final episode in an all-stars season of RuPaul's Drag Race into a giant advertisement for your failed cartoon for kids. No thank you. No thank you. I'll pass on. I'm sorry. If you absolutely need to have this thing reviewed, my suggestion is to go watch Vilma Fingerdo. You can watch her. I like her a lot. She is funny. She is drunk. She is big. She is old. It's perfect. She will give you an experience. You go watch Vilma. I'm not going to review this. Let's move on to the main stage because we have RuPaul voguing on the runway. She's probably thinking about all the money she's gonna make from Drag Tots Season 2 and a future line of RuPaul's dolls maybe. All wearing a fracking attire, of course. Then we have the Drag Tots of Latrice and Bianca on the main stage, commenting on everything with sanitized jokes, trite references, and fake laugh. And since I'm not going to review anything of this, let's just give a quick look at the outfits, and then we go back to the workroom for Deliberation and Untucked. So, when it comes to the outfits, I didn't really like Trinity's one. I see the great effort that she put behind it. That is undeniable. I can see that. I just didn't like it. I cannot help it. I didn't really like it. Ginger, I don't know what she was thinking. For me, her was probably the worst, but props to her for learning how to sew, actually. This is something that she wasn't really comfortable with back in Season 7, so I appreciate the growth and the fact that she is definitely trying. Then we have Raja. Raja murdered everyone. There is no contest there. I think we can all agree on that, at least when it comes to the dress. Eureka's, I wasn't crazy about it, but it was not as bad as Trinity or Ginger's. And then we have Kylie. Kylie had a great concept, but it looked kind of rough around the edges, which is also understandable. We were shown Kylie struggling a little bit. So if you look for from 10 meters, it looks like a full concept. But then when you start zooming in, you realize that yes, a ton of things could have been done a little bit better. But all in all, she wasn't that bad. Not bad at all. So by the end of this, Raja wins, and everybody else is in the bottom. So let's move back to the workroom for Deliberation and Untucked. And a ton of stuff happens in here. And before we get into this, let me make a little bit of a premise. Now, Ginger and Trinity, for me, are the queens who are playing the game the most in this season. And I don't fault them for doing it. I mean, that's their job. They are professional. They're doing what they are supposed to be doing. Of course, some queens are better than others, but none of them is really playing the game in a way that will cause social media backlash or huge real-life problems for other queens. They're just playing the game. So, to me, they're doing nothing wrong. But the problem is that for me as a viewer, I enjoy the show much less if I start seeing them playing the game a little bit too much. Because for that 1 hour, I want the illusion of reality. You know, I want to be sucked in the show. I want to believe everything. That's how I get my life. For that 1 hour, it's part of my Drag Race enjoyment. But if you play the game too much, especially if you play it badly or production decides to put a magnifying lens on you through editing, then my suspension of disbelief kind of goes down the drain and I stop enjoying the show. So I kind of stopped enjoying Trinity and Ginger on the show for the past 3 or 4 episodes already, but especially Ginger in this episode where production really did a 180 on her. So in this moment, you have Eureka asking Trinity and Ginger if they think she should go home. And Trinity and Ginger, the ones that played the game the most in this season, none of them answers. None of them. But I'm sure in the end, they both voted Eureka, but they didn't answer the question.
You all feel like I should go home?
I don't like this.
Well, Ginger?
I don't know. I really don't know.
So at this point, Eureka tries to explain that her track record is actually good even though she never won a challenge. And this is their reaction. And this is not the reaction shot that it's taken out of context. This is not the bitch facing I always talk about. Because in this shot, they are both speaking and responding to Eureka's question.
You know, just because I haven't won a challenge, I also haven't been in the bottom. I'm not gonna give up. You know what I mean? No. I've been close to winning so many times.
So who will go home here?
This is not a silent shot. They are actually talking in these shots. This is genuine. And let me tell you something. When it comes to track records, since we are on the topic, I actually thought of a method to quantify track record in a way that it's the most scientific way possible, in a way that's fair and consistent. I will probably publish a little bit of a tiny video about it in the future, hoping that all the other reviewers will start adopting it. And let me tell you that based on that, Eureka is not the worst in the bunch. Incredibly, Ginger is the worst in the bunch, and by a long shot. So at this point, Trinity asks Eureka who would she vote, and Eureka actually answers. You know, differently from both of them, Eureka actually answers. And she says either Trinity or Kylie. And frankly, I agree with her.
So who will go home here?
So I feel like it'll be between me, you, and Kylie. And look at me for a second.
Trinity is shown to be pissed, I wonder why, and Eureka is desperately trying to squeeze a tear, and please Eureka, don't do that. You don't need to do that. Keep being you, keep being real. I am enjoying the ride. And I'm willing to forgive and forget as long as she's willing to continue to challenge herself and learn from her mistake. There is no need to squeeze a tear. If you go home, you go home. It doesn't matter. Do you. Don't do what everybody else does. Because I am appreciating Eureka mostly because she is being herself in all of this. I think probably it's one of the most real queens that we are left with in the top 5. So, you know, it's a little bit of a pity that she hides it a little bit behind the character in this moment. I can understand why it's happening, but, you know, for me, it's the wrong direction. So we move to have a little bit of talk with Raja, and Trinity is licking up Raja top to bottom, telling her, yes, you deserve the win, you go girl, and blah blah blah.
Can we praise you for a minute before we get into me? Because I was hoping that you could get you another win and that you just solidified the spot. We come from a season where we felt this motherfucking big, and we walked in this workroom and we have grown and people have seen it. And I want to see us there together.
At this point, the only thing missing is actually Trinity asking Raja if she needs some clothes for the lip sync, you know? I'm just saying. And of course, all of these made it to the final edit so that we, the viewers, could notice. That didn't happen by chance. Then we move on to Ginger. And Ginger is even worse because she's edited to look like a calculating bitch. In the first shot, she says on camera, the way we've been voting is heavily based on track records. And then off camera, she continues by saying, do you know what I mean? And immediately after, she's shown nodding to Raja without saying a word and with a smirk on her face. However, this was patched together because, as you can see, Ginger's hair appeared to have moved by itself in a matter of 2 seconds. I'm not kidding, it's 2 seconds.
The way that we've been voting is heavily based on track record. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm.
So the message here in the subtext is that Ginger is shady and doesn't have the courage to say out loud, well, don't vote me because I've been doing well, or vote this queen and this other queen because they've been doing bad. And in addition to that, we are shown a confessional from Ginger telling us that she is Raja's biggest competition and this would be a perfect opportunity to kick her out. Which in this context, with this editing, makes her look as if she is preemptively throwing Raja under the bus in case she gets eliminated.
I can't really get a good read on what Raja is feeling, and that scares the shit out of me. In my mind, I'm her biggest competition at this point. This would be an easy opportunity for her to just kick me out the door.
It's a terrible look for Ginger, and honestly, it makes me think the worst for her. Because, you know, I've been saying episode after episode for the past, I think, 5 episodes. Ginger will win. Ginger is professional toward production. Ginger is playing the game really well. Ginger is going to win. So what the hell is going on here? Because something is going on here. We can discuss on the meaning of it, but something is definitely going on in here. Immediately after, we go back to the sofa where Kylie tells that everyone got great cryptiques, only to be intercepted by Ginger saying that if they're going to split hairs, then she got some notes during the cryptiques about, you know, some things that she could have done a little bit better. And of course, with a generous amount of shady noises and tense music behind it.
Literally, we all got great critiques.
Well, if it's truly splitting hairs, they said that they wish that you had taken your lines a little bigger in a couple places on the stage.
Ginger is not really doing anything wrong. She's just saying, well, if we're splitting hairs, then, you know, they said a little bit more about you. There is nothing strange about it. But it's edited as if she's being shady. And to confirm that, we have a confessional of Kylie calling Ginger out, just in case you didn't understand the message.
They wish that you had taken your lines a little bigger in a couple places on the stage.
I see you, girl. I see you.
Definitely.
I'm not new to drag, and I'm definitely not new to stunts.
At this point, for me, Ginger's run on All Stars is officially over. Cut short, really close to the final line, and sacrificed on the altar of elevating Raja's and Kylie's edit by contrast. Ginger is done. There is no reason that they would have done this so close to the finale. So in a way, I'm thinking, yes, there is a chance that this could be a very well-crafted series of edits to kind of throw us off the track, you know, since I've been saying for ages, oh, Ginger will win, Ginger has a representation spot, Ginger is professional, so everyone kind of clocked the fact that probably Ginger was going to win, and maybe they just did this to throw all of us off the track. It could be. But I find it a little bit too risky, because it reiterates the same edit that she had already back on Season 7 and All Stars 2. And since people are already sensitized to it, they're going to respond immediately and very strongly when they see this kind of edit coming back for Ginger. And production must know that this was going to happen. At this point, they've had 14 years of experience. They must know that this was going to happen. To me, this looks like a deliberate attempt to cut Ginger off the race as a winner. If it isn't, then they need to fire more than just a couple of editors. Let's move on to Untuck for a moment, because there's something very important that happens in here for me. Because we have Ginger and Eureka explaining the difficulties in dealing with the stigma attached to being a bigger person, and how important role models actually are and representation actually is, especially on this show. And Eureka in particularly opens up about the influence that Ginger herself had on her, and she was inspired and motivated because Ginger went to the top 3 of Season 7. I completely agree with them, because representation and role models, when done right, can really make a difference in people's life and people's perception, especially self-perceptions. Because you have to understand one thing, there is a real stigma toward being a bigger person, and that stigma is way more pervasive than what you might think. Because it's not just about being picked while growing up, or not feeling attractive as an adult, it also affects the people around you. So personally, I always had a strong preferences toward bigger men. It was never an exclusive preference, but a very strong one nonetheless, and I clearly felt the social pressure that comes with it, even though I never been myself a big man to begin with. Yet I had to deal with some bullshit like specific looks or comments when it came to the people that I choose to date. Not to mention the effect that the stigma had directly on them, like the feeling of being unattractive, unworthy of dating anyone, or even repulsive. So, you know, I'm very strong-willed, and that didn't deter me from dating whoever I wanted to date. But it surely made it a lot more difficult than it should have been, from both sides. And for some people, it even makes it impossible. And this is not just a random load of bullshit that I'm saying to prove my point. There are gay men out there who will still date women because of the stigma attached to being gay. So it's not hard to believe that there are men attracted to big people out there who will not date them out of fear from the stigma. And I've known quite a few actually. And for all of them, including me, sharing these preferences with friends and family felt like a second coming out, with all the same difficulties and feelings of shames that are attached to it. And you might ask, shame of what? That's a great question. Socially learned shame, the one that we have all been exposed to, especially in media, since we were born. That's why representation is so important in today's society for many people that still feel like this is a second coming out, independently of sexual orientation, independently of sex, independently of everything. And this thing has to fucking change. I had a childhood friend. She always was a big girl, and she had the same exact experiences in the straight world. People would enjoy being intimate with her, but when it came to be introduced to friends and families, oh no, that was too much. It's like, men that have this covert gay relationships, the circumstances are different, of course, but the concept behind it is exactly the same. This shit is way more pervasive and elusive than you might think, and it encompasses all of societies. So, to all of the fat asses out there, and those who appreciate them, be fucking proud and be fucking loud. And since we are at it, of course, let's reappropriate the word as well, and show a giant middle finger to those who keep perpetuating this stereotype, either actively by shaming big people and those who like them, or passively by tolerating shitty attitudes and hiding behind convenient silence. And to all of the big men, women, everyone in between out there, please know that your fat ass is synonymous of being a sex magnet, just like Eureka said. And to all of you who fear the social pressure of dating bigger people, honestly, life is too short for that kind of bullshit. Live your life, be happy, and if anyone has a problem, just tell them to go fuck themselves. End of my TED Talk for this episode. Now let's move on to that fucked up lip sync. The secret lip sync assassin is Kameron Michaels. You should have known if you watched the preview from the previous episode, because it was spoiled in there. The lip sync song is terrible. I was bored as hell. So were Raja, Kameron, Charlie, the Queens. They really did cut the budget on songs by the end of this season, didn't they? And it shows, because this to me was a terrible choice and it really made nobody any favor whatsoever. The energy is like at floor level. It looks like no one wants to do this. Raja is not interested. Kameron is not interested. The Queens are not interested. If you have any doubt, look at the Queens' reactions from the lip sync with Laganja and Trinity. It's a 180. It's completely different. And this shot of the Queens that you see here, I had to magnify it, because we are only shown one shot from the Queens in which Ginger is laughing. She's the only one, and I don't even know where it really comes from. So this is their expression. This is how they are reacting to this lip sync. So I don't know if they ran out of budget. I don't know if this was a deliberate decision. It was just terrible. And of course we have Kameron's response to all of this on social media. Kameron was not pleased. Many have speculated that they might have switched the song for Kameron last minute. The problem is that this is kind of debatable, because Laganja, for example, got her song very early on. She released a mini documentary, The Making of a Lip Sync Assassin, I think it's called. It's here on YouTube. So I find it kind of difficult to believe that they might have switched Kameron's song. I think that they might have switched her as a lip sync assassin, because conveniently it looks like the same season sisters are the ones either lip syncing against each other or eliminating one of their sisters. It's a little bit too convenient. So for me, it could be that some, like Laganja, got her song very early on and everything went smooth. They were there the episode they were supposed to be there with their songs, and others were a little bit less lucky. And this, to me, looks like it's Kameron case. By the way, thanks to Pandalifo from the channel's Discord for sharing this Instagram post. We also have Raja's response. This is, where does it come from? This comes from the Drag Race Drama subreddit. So Raja felt the need to address the fact that many fans were speculating that she threw away the lip sync. So let's talk about that for a moment, because this is a curious topic, okay? Because a lot of people say, well, she didn't want to eliminate somebody, and so she threw away the lip sync. And Raja's response is, no, I didn't throw the lip sync. I just didn't vibe with the song, which, I understand until a certain point, because you also have to understand something very, very, very important. When you are in the top 4 of an all-star season, you will command a prize anywhere between $10,000 to $15,000 per gig, for a period of time that can go anywhere from 2-3 months to 6 months, maybe even 12. And that's per gig. Imagine how much you can make if you have 3 gigs a week. If we consider a span of time of 6 months, we are talking about anywhere between $200,000 and $500,000. So understand that if people decide to overreact on social media and gang up on you, and you start losing gigs because you eliminated a fan favorite, well, you can kiss all of that money goodbye in exchange for that 10K lip sync. So I'm asking you, if you're running the risk of eliminating someone that will cause huge social media backlash, what do? Do you give away the opportunity of earning up to $500,000, or do you slay the lip sync no matter what? Because, Raja is not any queen. She had a villain edit. She's going through a redemption edit in this season. The last thing you want to do is to cut your legs right at the very end by eliminating someone that would be maybe a fan favorite, someone in the top 5. So to me, it's a little bit of both. The song was terrible. This is undeniable. It was a terrible choice for the lip sync, but also let's not run that risk. It's not that Raja is lying. This is the way you have to talk when you are working, for World of Wonder, when you're working in this industry and everything that goes around in this industry. You have to appear as nice as possible, say, as little as possible. You cannot come out and say, well, yes, I might have also throw it out because, you can lose a shit ton of money if people start attacking you on social media and you start losing gig, which is nothing new. Ask many other queens the effect of their run on Drag Race. If it was a bad run, they lost gigs. I'm not saying this is happening. Let's be honest. I'm just laying all the cards, and then you can decide for yourself what you want to believe. After this, Kameron wins and sends Eureka home. This run on All Stars for Eureka to me was a very good one. She got to show the full package. She got to show how professional she became, her personal growth, and even, those All Stars lips. I think Eureka should be really proud of her run. It was a very good run, and personally I would have been scared to eliminate her. Just saying. I'm just saying. So at this moment, we go back to the workroom 15 minutes later with Eureka, with a message from RuPaul telling her that she has to go back to the main stage because the game within a game, it's going to start. And apparently the game within a game, the thing we were all waiting for, it's probably going to be a lip sync smackdown like they did back in All Stars 4. But probably instead of having the eliminated queens versus the queens that are still in the game, they're probably going it with, with all the eliminated queens. I'm kind of displeased. I was expecting like a side competition, something, and another. It didn't need to be like a full-on competition like the main episodes of the season, but I was expecting a little bit of that, like a side competition that's running parallel to the main season. It's kind of a letdown that it's just lip syncs. I was wishing for more. They could have done much more, especially since they advertised it as, you have a game within a game, as if it's, lip syncs. We're going to probably have an episode of lip syncs. That's it. It would have had a different impact if they didn't advertise it so much. If they didn't make us talk about it and think about it and be reminded every episode, it's a game within a game and this and that. If they didn't pump pump us up so much, then, you know, it's still lip syncs. Lip syncs are enjoyable on the show. It's not that it's something bad. I mean, we're getting one more episode. It's a good thing. But they pushed this thing up so much that it raised my expectations. So at this point, I was expecting like really a side competition. And instead, we're probably going to get this. So I don't know. We'll have to tune in next episode and see how this all plays out. What else can I say? Well, when it comes to the winners, at this point, I think Ginger is completely done. Ginger is done, Trinity is done, Eureka is out of the competition. Probably somebody will come back. That somebody will never win because they lost, episodes in the way. And so, who are we left with? We are left with Kylie and Raja. The winner has to be one of the two. Personally, you know how I am. Even though I think Raja is the most worthy winner out of all of them, in my opinion, once Ginger is out of the game, I think they're going to go for something new. I think they're going to go for Kylie. It would be an excellent choice. It's not necessarily the most deserving from a competitive point of view, but considering everything that is going on right now, I think it would be a great example to have Kylie win this competition. It's not that it's undeserved. It's not that she is not good at the game. It's about excellence versus excellence. We are really at this point. So she would be deserving for me. Not as much as Raja, but she would be deserving. And frankly, we need a trans woman in the Hall of Fame. No shade to anyone. I would greatly appreciate it. And that was all for this episode. Sorry it's been so long to actually edit it. If you want to actually see the reviews in time, you can tune in every Sundays for The Chop, at least for the main seasons of Drag Race. As usual, a very special thanks to our patrons and to our new additions on Patreon, Konata and Jason Coaster. Thank you so much for supporting us, and if you would like to support the channel as well, there is a link for that in the description. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to have the next 2 episodes out before the final episode actually airs. I don't know if it's going to happen, but I'll do my best to make it. And I'll see you soon on Sunday for the next live stream. Have a great week.